Nissan eager to use tax credit. Your news update, and we talk AI art on this edition of Arbitrage News Weekend, starting right now. Hello and welcome to Arbitrage News Weekend for September 3rd, 2022. I'm Joshua Stark. Nissan will more aggressively push electric vehicles to take advantage of a new U.S. law that gives up to $7,500 in tax credits, the Japanese automaker said Friday. President Biden signed the landmark climate change and health care bill into law last month. The tax credit can be used to defray the cost of purchasing an electric vehicle that's made in the U.S. The Nissan Leaf electric car is among the models that qualifies, but under the law, the vehicles must contain a battery built in North America with minerals mined or recycled in the continent to be eligible. Chief Sustainability Officer Joji Tagawa acknowledged the qualification process was complex while stressing Nissan was eager to take advantage of the law to alleviate costs to the customer. America's employers added a healthy number of jobs last month, yet slowed their hiring enough to potentially help the Federal Reserve in its fight to reduce raging inflation. The economy gained 315,000 jobs in August, a still solid figure that pointed to an economy that remains resilient despite rising interest rates, high inflation, and sluggish consumer spending. Friday's report from the government also showed that the unemployment rate rose to 3.7%, up from a half-century low of 3.5%. Yet that increase was also an encouraging sign. It reflected a long-awaited rise in the number of Americans who came off the sidelines and started looking for work. It's a very positive report. It still holds open the possibility for a soft landing, said Alan Gasky, an economist with PGIM Fixed Income. NASA is aiming for a launch today of its new moon rocket after fixing fuel leaks and working around a bad engine sensor that failed the first try. The inaugural flight of the 322-foot rocket, the most powerful ever built by NASA, was delayed late in the countdown Monday. The Kennedy Space Center clocks started ticking again as managers expressed confidence in their plan and forecasters gave favorable weather odds. Atop the rocket is a crew capsule with at least 3 test dummies that will fly around the moon and back over the course of 6 weeks, NASA's first such attempt since the Apollo program 50 years ago. NASA wants to bring out the spacecraft before strapping in astronauts on the next planned flight in 2 years. The Baltimore Ravens are making a feathered addition to their injured reserve list. In a video posted on Twitter on Thursday, Coach John Harbaugh announced that Poe, the team's bird mascot, was going on IR. Poe was carted off the field at halftime of the Ravens' preseason game against Washington last weekend. Poe was joined by other mascots for a halftime game before being injured. On Sunday, the Ravens tweeted a picture of the mascot with ice on his left knee, saying he was resting comfortably in his perch awaiting further test results. In this video Thursday, Harbaugh said Poe had a season-ending injury to his drumstick and the team would need to find a replacement. We're going to get right into evaluating our options and see where we go next, Harbaugh said. See if we can find somebody to replace Poe. More after this.
It's Thursday night and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes 2. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
This week's arbitrage blog includes White is for Summer, Twitter just got tweeted on, and Royce and I talk AI art. I don't know. All of this and more in this week's arbitrage blog, available now at arbitragetrade.com. Now, let's go to the president and CEO of Arbitrage, Mr. Royce Wells, for more. Royce, Ari,
Yes, Ari.
our intrepid writer,
Yes.
wrote this article and said, hey, you guys talk about this.
Is it a guy topic?
It's fashion, man. I know nothing about fashion, and
You mean you're not Metro?
taking a look at you,
I'm clearly not the face of fashion.
I'm just saying.
But hey, let's talk about it. What are we talking about?
So we're talking about White after Labor Day.
There will be 3 minutes of silence. Continue.
If you're familiar with the cult classic Serial Mom, then you know that wearing white after Labor Day could be deadly. As a matter of fact, you might have heard your parents say white is for summer, and after that, Labor Day, it's tacky to even wear white shoes.
Interesting. I have to keep my Oxfords up to,
Do you know what the only piece of white clothing I have anymore is?
I do not want to know about those tidy whities.
No, it's
Okay.
it's a tuxedo shirt.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. All right.
So technically speaking, I mean, there is argument for that white after Labor Day, but that's as far as my knowledge of white clothing goes. So
I want to know why. Why did it become a thing? I know black colors in summer. You don't wear black in the summer because it absorbs all of the light and you just get hot. So wearing white, you probably be your coolest in the summer.
correct. So logically, right, you wouldn't wear like wool or leather or cashmere because they're hot, Royce. I mean, I've got a black wool jacket. I'm not going to be wearing that in 100-degree heat.
Well, you could drop it like it's hot.
And on that note,
What?
no,
I thought that was a good serve. You just did not catch it.
I don't wanna catch what you got, man. I'm just saying.
Hey, that's okay. Then basically, you will be wearing white after Labor Day. Then
No, I won't, and here's why.
wait, okay, why not?
Well, if you think about this, okay, being hot in summertime before the invention of air conditioning, it all came down to health, clothing, and activity. So anybody who does a lot would not want to wear white because it doesn't stay clean. And the thing is that with white it reflects heat. So I mean, there's arguments on either side about summer.
No, I get the summer piece, but what about after Labor Day? I want to know why after Labor Day became such a big thing. I'm like, okay, why are there no bans on the color black or orange or green throughout the year?
Okay, so there's some theories here, right?
Right, theories.
Like I said, logically, you wouldn't want to be in black wool or leather or anything like that because of heat stroke, heat exhaustion, and that sort of thing. And so Labor Day is basically the end of summer, right? Or considered to be the end of summer.
The beginning of school.
Thought to be the end of summer.
People are going back.
And fashion rules being as they are, they just kind of said, look, here it is. Don't wear white after Labor Day. More
You
after
know
this.
what? Breaking the law. Breaking the law.
Hi, we're the Goo Goo Dolls. We're fortunate that we can give our daughters everything they need to grow and learn. But not every child can focus on classes and play dates.
Nearly 13 million kids in the U.S. face hunger. That's 1 in 6. School lunch might be their only meal each day, and it's heartbreaking to imagine any child going to bed hungry. We're dreaming of a perfect day when kids can smile, play, and just be kids without worrying about where their next meal will come from. Feeding America is working to make that perfect day a reality.
Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. That food is given to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about doing things that make an ordinary day extraordinary. Learning to play an instrument, building a sandcastle, hosting tea parties. Hunger should never be an obstacle to growing up.
You can help end childhood hunger in your community by visiting feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
From fire departments to governments, from school districts to corporations, from local utilities to grassroots organizers around the world, Twitter, at its best, is a tool to get a message out quickly, efficiently, directly. It's also a constant risk and reward calculation. A recent bombshell whistleblower account from Twitter's former head of security alleges that the social media company has been negligently lax on cybersecurity and privacy protections for its users for years. While worrisome for anyone on Twitter, the revelations could be especially concerning for those who use it to reach constituencies, get news out about emergencies, and for political dissidents and activists in the crosshairs of hackers or their own governments. We tend to look at these companies as large, well-resourced entities who know what they're doing, but you realize that a lot of their actions are ad hoc reactive, driven by crises, said Pratik Wagra, policy director of the Internet Freedom Foundation, a digital rights nonprofit in India. Essentially, they're often held together by sellotape or chewing gum. Peter Mujzatko, who served as Twitter's security chief until he was fired early this year, filed the complaints last month with federal U.S. authorities, alleging that the company misled regulators about its poor cybersecurity defenses and its negligence in attempting to root out fake accounts that spread disinformation. Among Zatko's most serious accusations is that Twitter violated the terms of a 2011 FTC settlement by falsely claiming that it had put stronger measures in place to protect the security and privacy of its users. Wagra said the allegations in the complaint about India that Twitter knowingly allowed the Indian government to place its agents on the company payroll where they had direct unsupervised access to the company's systems and user data were particularly worrisome. He also pointed to an incident earlier this month where a former Twitter employee was found guilty of passing along sensitive user data to royal family members in Saudi Arabia in exchange for bribes. The consequence of privacy and security lapses can range from inconvenience and embarrassment, such as when an Indiana State Police account was hacked and tweeted poo-poo head earlier this year, to much worse. In October 2021, a Saudi humanitarian aid worker was sentenced to 20 years in prison because of an anonymous satirical Twitter account that the kingdom says he ran. It's possible that the case is linked with the men accused of spying on behalf of the kingdom while working at Twitter. As an advocate for dissidents and others detained in Saudi Arabia, Bethany Al-Hadari has been concerned for years about Twitter's user privacy safeguards. The new whistleblower allegations make her all the more worried. Given what we know about how social media is used around the world, that is incredibly problematic, said Al-Hadiri, who works for the Freedom Initiative, a U.S.-based human rights group. The possibility of hackers or governments exploiting the alleged cybersecurity lapses at Twitter to get users' identities, private messages, and other personal information is quite disturbing to me, she said. Chinese-Australian artist and activist Bad Liu Kao, who regularly publishes art that criticizes the Chinese Communist Party, expressed concern about the whistleblower's allegations, noting that many users provide their phone numbers and emails to Twitter. More after this on Arbitrage Weekend. Stick around.
Okay, so Sarah, I'm dropping you off at Emily's?
Yep.
And Josh, you're going to?
Soccer, Dad. Soccer practice.
Right. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to let you know when I pick you both up, I'll be wearing my short shorts.
What?
No!
Yep, and my dorky dad hat, and I'm gonna do my dad dance for all your friends. They'll love it!
Seriously? Why?
Because I like my short shorts. Of course, I could be talked out of it if you guys would just buckle up your seatbelts without giving me a hard time.
It's important to get your kids to buckle up for safety, no matter what it takes. And sometimes, all it takes is your parental powers of persuasion.
Okay, we're buckling up.
See, all buckled.
Good choice. I'll just have to do my dad dance at dinner time. What?
No!
Do what you have to make sure your kids are wearing their seatbelts, even on short drives. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.
Royce, it's been a while since we've been teenagers, isn't it?
Yes, it's been a while since I saw you.
It's been a while since I said I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's definitely been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
don't let that, change things,
What is it? 3 Doors Down or Stained? I can't remember.
Now you put me on a spot. I want to say Stained, but I could be wrong.
I think it's Stained. Teenagers have been rebellious, Royce. That's what we're
Teen
talking
Spirit.
about.
What?
Not Nirvana, dude. Stained. We were at Stained.
We were at Stained, but basically,
let's keep on. However,
you know what? Just whip it good.
Oh, speaking of whippets,
what? What we talking about? Whippets?
Oh, Royce, the state of New York has, in their infinite wisdom, banned canned whipped cream.
So they're not gonna whip it good.
No, they can't do that.
But when a problem comes along, you must whip it.
It's going to be one of those kind of days for me, people. Enjoy the ride.
Sorry. I'm not sorry.
Enjoy the ride. So, this entire article is talking about the deleterious effects. And yes, I said deleterious. You got a problem with that?
I do not. I just want to know why we're talking about whipped cream in this segment and spraying on whipped cream. This is not that type of show.
Okay, so... oh, man. Whipped cream...
Yes.
As an aerosol. Has to have a propellant.
Yes.
The propellant in aerosolized whipped cream is nitrous oxide. Are you familiar with nitrous oxide?
Yeah, don't make me laugh.
Yes, it's known as laughing gas.
Correct. See?
It's also used in dental work. It's also used in anesthesiology.
So what are people doing with nitrous oxide and whipped cream cans?
They're inhaling the nitrous oxide.
Oh, so everyone can be Alvin and Chipmunks?
Do you remember back in the 80s when CO2 cartridges from air rifles were banned?
I do remember that.
Because people were inhaling the CO2. Same thing here. The prolonged exposure to nitrous oxide can cause any effects like liver and kidney disease, bone marrow damage, brain damage, nerve damage, hearing loss.
No more laughing gas for me at the dentist. I'll just take it straight, thank you. Novocaine for the soul.
I don't know about that, but
before I sputter
when you get exposed to nitrous oxide for extended periods of time outside of medical procedures, because they know what they're doing, it's similar to...
I'm not sure. That's why they call it a practice, Josh. They practice on you.
Well,
and they get better as they practice.
That may be true, Royce, but they know more about it than we do. How about that? That works?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So the effects of nitrous oxide can be similar to long versus short-term low radiation exposure. Sure, you can be okay walking around with someone with low radioactivity once, but if it were something that you passed every day for a few years, you may actually see cellular damage. Similarly, nitrous oxide is safe in most monitored small doses, but larger doses can cause irreversible damage. That's why New York did what they did.
Yeah, it sounds like someone tried to die laughing and it didn't work.
More after this.
No word in the English language is less convincing than probably.
Are you sure we should get matching tattoos on our first date?
Sure. We'll probably stay together.
Probably? It's been 23 minutes since I ate. I can probably swim.
You should wait 30 minutes.
Okay, now tell me what to do. Cannonball! Cramp! Oh, I have a cramp.
I can probably hit the green from here.
Probably.
Can I get a mulligan?
Ready to go?
Hey, are you sure you're okay to drive?
Yeah, I'm pretty sober. Yeah, I'm probably okay.
Probably okay isn't okay, especially when it comes to drinking and driving. If you're drinking, call a cab, a car, or a friend. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. A message brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
From fire departments to governments, from school districts to corporations, from local utilities to grassroots organizers around the world, Twitter, at its best, is a tool to get a message out quickly, efficiently, directly. It's also a constant risk and reward calculation. A recent bombshell whistleblower account from Twitter's former head of security alleges that the social media company has been negligently lax on cybersecurity and privacy protections for its users for years. While worrisome for anyone on Twitter, the revelations could be especially concerning for those who use it to reach constituencies, get news out about emergencies, and for political dissidents and activists in the crosshairs of hackers or their own governments. We tend to look at these companies as large, well-resourced entities who know what they're doing, but you realize that a lot of their actions are ad hoc reactive, driven by crises, said Pratik Wagra, policy director of the Internet Freedom Foundation, a digital rights nonprofit in India. Essentially, they're often held together by sellotape or chewing gum. Peter Mujzatko, who served as Twitter's security chief until he was fired early this year, filed the complaints last month with federal U.S. authorities, alleging that the company misled regulators about its poor cybersecurity defenses and its negligence in attempting to root out fake accounts that spread disinformation. Among Zatko's most serious accusations is that Twitter violated the terms of a 2011 FTC settlement by falsely claiming that it had put stronger measures in place to protect the security and privacy of its users. Wagra said the allegations in the complaint about India that Twitter knowingly allowed the Indian government to place its agents on the company payroll where they had direct unsupervised access to the company's systems and user data were particularly worrisome. He also pointed to an incident earlier this month where a former Twitter employee was found guilty of passing along sensitive user data to royal family members in Saudi Arabia in exchange for bribes. Consequence of privacy and security lapses can range from inconvenience and embarrassment, such as when an Indiana State Police account was hacked and tweeted poo-poo head earlier this year, to much worse. In October 2021, a Saudi humanitarian aid worker was sentenced to 20 years in prison because of an anonymous satirical Twitter account that the kingdom says he ran. It's possible that the case is linked with the men accused of spying on behalf of the kingdom while working at Twitter. As an advocate for dissidents and others detained in Saudi Arabia, Bethany Al-Hadari has been concerned for years about Twitter's user privacy safeguards. The new whistleblower allegations make her all the more worried. Given what we know about how social media is used around the world, that is incredibly problematic, said Al-Hadiri, who works for the Freedom Initiative, a U.S.-based human rights group. The possibility of hackers or governments exploiting the alleged cybersecurity lapses at Twitter to get users' identities, private messages, and other personal information is quite disturbing to me, she said. Chinese-Australian artist and activist Bai Lukao, who regularly publishes art that criticizes the Chinese Communist Party, expressed concern about the whistleblower's allegations, noting that many users provide their phone numbers and emails to Twitter. More after this on Arbitrage Weekend. Stick around.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling on it.
The dad joke. Corny, groan-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
What did the buffalo say when he dropped his son off for school? Bye, son.
So take a moment to make your kid laugh, because dad jokes rule. Make your kid laugh today. Go to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
Jelly. Jelly adjective. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous, as in Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Royce, similarly to fashion, we don't know that much about fine art either.
What are you talking about? I know tons about art.
Do you, though?
Oh, yeah.
Art, Linkletter.
Mozart is a great artist.
Music is an art form, yes. I
See?
get that. But what we're talking about here is graphical art, right?
Oh, so the computers aren't making music either? Dang nabbit.
Well, actually, they are, but that's not exactly what we're angling
Okay, all right.
toward.
Tell me what they're creating.
So, artificial intelligence's ability to create art has kind of exploded onto the scene over the last few months, and while it's been great news for like trolls and fans of tech, it's kind of raised a few eyebrows and concerns. If you haven't seen anything about it, AI art, at least as it's known now, we have an algorithm that artists write to follow to learn a specific aesthetic by analyzing thousands of images, and then the algorithm tries to generate new images in adherence to the aesthetics that it's learned.
So monkey see, monkey do. Got it.
Basically, for example, there is one painting in a certain style. The AI tries to mimic the style, but not necessarily the exact painting.
No, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Things you can look up is like SpongeBob grieving for Batman's parents, or wizard standing on a hillside under a rainbow. Basically, you can type just about anything into the algorithm text prompt, and you can get the machine to do the art.
Oh, excellent.
Not so much.
Okay, so why not?
Well, if you think about this, we live in a world where there is a lot of human-made art.
Okay, so we're not replacing skill with, repetition.
Well, an artist said an artist's skills were very undervalued before the technology, and they fear that this will compound it even more, because several large publishers have been using AI art.
It happens.
Well, think about it this way, right? The end game of a potential employer is not to make the employee's job easier. It's to replace that employer, to try to figure out the cheapest way of doing something, right?
You sacrifice quality when you do that.
I'm speaking to my boss when I say this.
Right. So, yeah, no, I will not replace you with a script. I will replace you with 40,000 scripts.
We'll talk about that. But anyway, okay. So the thing is, though, is that you take a look at what AI art can do, right?
Yes.
And you see a single piece that can be done by, let's say, an entry-level artist. Well, AI art can do that 5 to 10 times and repeat it. Not a problem.
Well, that's great, but what about prints? It's like, okay, you do it, you make the one original, let the artist do what they're going to do.
Find out more about this on the Arbitrage blog, but for now, have a great weekend. We'll see you Tuesday because the U.S. has Labor Day.
Arbitrage Trade Analytics, LLC, is a privately held market research company. Arbitrage Trade Analytics, LLC, is solely responsible for the preparation and distribution of the content of this podcast. The opinions offered in this podcast are for informational purposes only and are not intended to be investment advice. Seek a duly licensed professional for investment advice. For more information about the informational research and services offered by Arbitrage Trade Analytics, LLC, please visit arbitrage